Okay, so I was interrupted from my commentaries with regards to the exposure videos of some of the tyrants, but interrupted for a good thing. Um, Someone contacted us. Now, before we go into what was the reason for the contact, let's talk about a taboo. Basically, a taboo is something that people don't want to talk about. It's like a ban, like, don't talk about that. My God, the uproar. And one of those are religion. Yes, religion. We're going to talk about religion. And something, we were going to touch on this topic before, but we decided not to because a lot of you are not really religious, and so we felt it would be out of place. But a supporter sent us something in regards to that topic, and we felt, okay, now this would be a good time to talk about it, about the Bible and certain things, and about the hypocrisy behind anyone that follows the Bible. So this is a disclaimer right here. If you are a firm believer in the Bible, the book, not God, not Jesus, the book itself, then this video is not for you, and you should just move along. Just move along, just stop it here, because if you watch it, then it's on you. So, now, we're gonna say this about the book. Let me just say me. Let's say me. I'm not gonna use we now. I'm just gonna say me, whatever. I believe that the book, the Bible, was written for the time. And that's it, for the time. I look at the Bible as a self-help book. You know how you go to the library and you go to different sections, if you're having this problem and you're having this issue. And the Bible is like a library, right? So if you have a certain issue, you look for certain passages in the Bible that will help guide you, not instruct you. It's a difference. Guide you, not instruct you. That's how I perceive the Bible to be. It's a library, and people that have going through certain things will find something in there that will guide them in the issues they are going through at that moment, right? Now, when I state it was a book for that time period, it was for that time, because what they had then, the environment that they were in then, any parent, right, will institute certain precautions because of the environment back then, right? For example, pork, like in the meat, pork, pigs. Maybe back then, since they didn't have no way to sanitize it or cook it correctly, people were getting sick because of eating pork. So back then, it could have been like, listen, nobody eat pork. But it's not because the pork was bad. It's because back then, they didn't have a way to sanitize it. So they said, that's it, no pork. So they probably put in the Bible, hey, people, no pork, right? Because it'll get you sick. Eat fish. It's safer because some of it is in salt water, which salt water kills a lot of the bacteria, and so forth. So people were eating more fish as opposed to animal meat. Because again, the sanitation back then was not good. But you won't say that now, right? Now you can eat pork because you know how to cook it. You know what to look for if it's spoiled or not. Back then, it wasn't that way. Let me give you another example. Back then, there was no massive weapon that everyone could unite and fight for one another. Back then, everything was more scattered, right? So, back then, you would tell your children, you're not allowed to go outside after dark. It's evil out there. You're going to get hurt. They do not want you to go out there. God does not want you to go out there. Now, you see what happened there? How many times have you told your children, or someone said, don't do that because your mother told me you can't do that. But in reality, the mother never said that. People will say things like that. And back then, they were naive enough to believe it, that God said this. But it doesn't mean that it was said, but it was of that time. Now, the kids can go out late. It has nothing to do with being evil. Now, because there's a whole bunch of safety nets out there to safeguard people that go out in the dark. See? One is different than the other. But when the book was made, it was made for that time. That moment in time. It has nothing to do with now. God was protecting the people of that time based on what their living arrangement and the environment was like. Right? Because God wanted people to progress on their own. Free will. But God would say, hey, you're not at that point to do everything nilly-willy. You still have to not be really safe. Sorry, I'm telling you, you cannot go out at night. You're not prepared for it. I'm telling you all, you are not prepared to go out at night. You don't have the skills to protect yourself yet. So God would say that to his children, just like you would tell your children that now. Now, let's go into this field. Parents that have more than one child. I bet you there's one child that you would trust more to go out to a party than you would trust another child. So what do? You have different conditions for different people. You're going to say, if someone comes to you and say, hey, you're going to let this person go out to the party? No. He don't know how to handle his drink. How about her? No, she's responsible. She can go. You see the difference? You do that now with your own children, and that's what God probably was doing back then. And they took it as everyone has to do it. Because that's what people do. Is it good for the goose? It's good for the gander. So shall it be written, so shall it be done. That's it. It's written, it's done. You have to follow it. And that's what they did. But God wasn't really looking at it that way. Because God is about love. You have to look at it, how would you treat your own children? Right? Do you want to see your children burn and die and get killed? No. So why would you all think that God will go and kill everyone in any place? Just wipe them all out. Fuck it. Including the babies. Including the little kids. That's what God would do? That's what your God would do? It's like mind-boggling that you all say that God is good and loving, and then you fucking attach atrocities to his or her name. Why would you do that? You can't have that. You cannot have someone that gave life, gave you a soul, put everything into that body, that vessel, to then turn around and destroy it. And even destroy the ones that are innocent. Just destroy them. Noah's Ark. Destroyed everyone. Flood it. Fuck it. Everyone go. Everyone die. Children, animals. Really? If God is going to do something like that, all God would have to do is just a thought, and every evil person would have just had a heart attack and died. Right? I mean, if God is creating soul, God has control of the environment, control of everything, control of one's action. If God can actually do that, why not just kill the ones that are wicked? Why wipe everyone out? Why? It's mind-boggling that you attach such atrocities and evilness to someone that you say is loving and caring and understanding and forgiving. That does not sound like a forgiving God. That does not sound like a God that loves his children, because there's innocent people involved in that. So, my take on the flooding of Noah's Ark, see, I chose to see why would God do that. And in my mind, I was like, no, God would not do that. God would not do that. So then what happened with the flood? Perhaps, just perhaps, God knew some type of event was going to happen. A tsunami or a flooding or massive rain. And God knows that we were not prepared for something as that massive of water and flooding and tsunamis and all that. So God said, listen, build something. Save yourselves. And Noah did that. Everyone else ignored him. Right? But God was not doing it. God was warning the people. Now, doesn't that sound like a loving God? A God that's helping people as opposed to just flooding and just massacring every single human in the fucking world, even little kids. That you believe. But you don't believe that maybe God was warning them. This is coming down the pipe. Remember, God is not going to interfere with our actions and how we progress. We have to learn through experience. But God will help. God will give you something so you can hold on to and build from. And God said, build a boat and you'll be alright. Protect yourselves. Everyone else laughed. Noah didn't. So maybe that's what happened in Noah's case. Right? And I'm going to say this. And this goes back with what I just said, that God allows us to grow. Allows us to learn from our experiences. And God warns people, do not do certain things because it could harm you. You'll be going down the wrong path. And the one story that rings the most between everyone. Some people say it didn't happen. Some people didn't say it did happen. But we're going to go with the story. Adam and Eve. If God made Adam and Eve, made this beautiful garden, why would God allow a snake or evil in the garden? Why? Because God just built the world. He built the garden. It's not a garden. That's where they were at. But God created the world. And Adam and Eve was in this particular place, in that particular garden, and there was a snake that was there, or whatever the case may be. And God warned them, listen, be aware, because there's animals or snakes out there. Do not engage with them, because you may get sick, or something may happen. And guess what? They didn't heed God's warning, and things transpired. But it was a warning. Do you really think that God put the snake there on purpose? Again, you cannot have a God that's being malicious and evil at the same time be forgiving and loving. You have to pick which God do you want. And based on that God, then you can spew whatever bullshit you want to spew. Whatever you want to fucking say, just say it. At least stick with your fucking damn your assumptions. So maybe that's what happened with Adam and Eve. But the point is I don't know. No one knows. But you know what I just did? I decided to look in the good from God. I decided to say that God didn't do that, but God was trying to help and warn them what was about to happen. That's That's what I chose to do. Y'all chose the opposite, the evil way. And that is why so many people are running away from God, because you'll go and you grab that book that is no longer valid and say, God said this. That's not what God was truly saying, and that was for that time. That's not now. Do not keep saying that God is in control. God can do all these things. Because when you say that and when God doesn't do it, you set God up for failure. God is not here to intervene with our lives. We are here to grow and hopefully grow into something bigger, so that when the time comes, you can go into God's house. But you have to grow. That is what life is about. When you start, you grow. And you can't hold a person's hand all the time. Because if you do that, that person cannot grow and flourish. So God loves that. God gave everything and said, here you go. God will give you hints. God will give you little feelings. You either go with it or not. How many times have you had a feeling, this shit is bad, I can't do that. But you still went against that feeling. That could have been God saying, hey, I'm giving you this little feeling here. But at the end, it's our decision, not God's. If God wanted to be a puppeteer, then that's how everything would have been made. But that's not what it's all about. God is not a puppeteer. God is just not. So just think about that. And that book is a book of the past. It's a book of things that were done for that time, when there was no medicine, when there was no security, there was no camaraderie between each other. So that's why back then rules had to be different. All right. So you can't take those rules and put it to today. You just can't. Parents that were parenting back then are not parenting the same today. Back then, God forbid you let your child go out at 5 p.m. Now they're going out trick-or-treating by themselves to 8, 9 o'clock at night. Well, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock is a little bit too late for kids to be out there. Okay, but anyway. But the point is that the times are different. So how can you take a book from back then and then say, here we go, it applies today? It doesn't. Because back then, when God told that person, don't go outside, and if it was today, God would have said, you can go outside. See the difference? So stop holding on to that book. That book is a memory of back then. Think about when you have your photo book, and you think about what you did when you were a kid. But you know those are certain things that you did back then you cannot do now. But it's something you refer to see and compare. A reference point. That's it. It's not a to-do. So now, with all that being said about God and stop portraying God to be that way, we're now going to go to the email we got. Well, part of it. Alright? So, Tyrant information. Again, we always highly redact any emails. We take away phrases that might identify them. We try to keep it as generic as possible so no one can get identified. So, now, Tyrant information. Due to what I witnessed last night, I felt like I had to contact you. Last night, Vegas Valley members was being racist, disgusting about bisexual and transgender. Everyone on the panel was extremely racist, homophobic, and disgusting. Vegas Valley said he would, quote, beat the off a trans person for being transgender. That's the link that they provided us. And they did another thing that we love people doing, a timestamp. Woo! Perfect. And that's it. That's all we can show you. Now, alright, now, what happened here? What happened with Vegas Valley? Alright? So now, listen to this. Just listen to this. Here you go.
A story is what exactly it is.
Oh, well, no, archaeologists have, these places have been found, and not only have they been found, but they've been found under feet of burnt ashes. So they know that this actually happened. Even archaeologists have found these cities. It's all...
Okay, let me stop right here real quick. In regards to what he was stating, in regards to they found the city and all that. We don't have time to really show you that what he just said is wrong. Okay? The reason why we're saying that is we want you to research. When it comes to this religion and all that, we don't want to really, we want you to do your own research. Anyway, so the archaeologist that is making this claim, he decided to go with his own theory, his own way of thinking, and what he decided to do was, if you go read it up, he decided to take a word that was interpreted by other archaeologists, right? And he said that word really meant something else, the plain or something word, right? And because he now translated that word to what he believes to be the word, that is how he pinpointed what he believes to be Gomorrah. But just listen to what we're just saying here. It's what his theory, that he believes that may be it, based on some wording that he interpreted. Remember, he's interpreting. When you're interpreting something, That doesn't mean that's the real true meaning behind it. You don't know. To interpret something factually, you would have to know the other person's intention and speak to them and go, what do you mean by that? But we don't have that, right? And so that's his theoretical belief on where Gomorrah is at. Not factual, but to him is a high probability. But I don't care how much of a probability it is, it's still a probability. It's not factual. But see, people like him like to attach it as factual when it's not factual. It's not factual at all. It's a theory. It's an assumption. I mean, let me give you another thing right here. You see this right here? This is part of the Bible. Now, you see that missing piece there? Guess what happens with those missing pieces? We take it and try to extrapolate what may have been said. Think about that. They're extrapolating what they think may have been said based on the other verbiages that's in the Bible, right? But what if one of the lines said, I hope everyone knows that this is all joking. I'm just telling the story. So I'm going to go on with the story. So anyway, Adam, blah, blah, blah. You don't know. You don't know what's in there, but they still add words in there. Why do you think there is so many different iterations of the Bible? The New Testament, the New Testament, the Millennial Testament. I mean, it's like we keep reinterpreting the Bible. And that should put pause in all of you. That why is the Bible being reinterpreted so many times? I mean, after a while, when you take the original idea, you know how they say that when someone tells a story, the next person that tells the story changes it a little bit, and then the next person that tells it changes a little bit, and by the end, the story will be completely different. And that is what's happening with the Bible. It keeps changing and changing and changing. The meaning is lost. It's lost. So what is left when it comes to God? What is left? That God is good. That God is forgiving. So now you have to look at any action that's being taken. Is that God? Is that of God? I mean, you have to start to think about how many times that Bible has been rewritten. Now, I want you to listen to this real carefully, because this was taken out of the Britannica. And if you go in there, you can see. But anyway, one of the passages says, the New English Bible proved to be an instant commercial success, selling at a rate of 33,000 copies a week in 1970. The translation differed from the English mainstream Bible in that it was not a revision, but a completely fresh version from the original tongues. It abandoned the tradition of biblical English and, except for the retention of thou and thy in addressing God, freed itself of all archaisms. Now just think about that. Look how many times it was changed, and then they just abandoned it. They just said, okay, you know something? It really meant something different. We gotta reevaluate it. But just look at the history. Just research. And you'll see how many times the Bible has been changed, how things just were abandoned and put in. I mean, anyway, that is another example of what happened to the Bible and how it just lost its way. So, if your mind is open to the idea that one thing could have been misinterpreted, then you have to not look at it. The whole Bible could have been misinterpreted, because a lot of the Bible feed off of each other. So you don't know what chain of events that was misinterpreted, because everything after that was built on that. So anything after that where it was not translated correctly is false. It's done. Think about that. So is it Gomorrah? Who fucking knows? He is giving his best educated guess and his interpretation of what he reads. One word changed everything. But that is how he's interpreting it. Doesn't mean it's factual. Doesn't mean it's true. He's saying based on that, it had to be this big city, and it had to be that big city. So based on this, and he did the fucking damn dodo bird fucking damn technique. And this city, and so if you go to the far left, and so he named all these towns. But the one thing they said is that Gomorrah was a very large city. What if all those cities that he thinks is a city, what if that whole location was Gomorrah? And inside Gomorrah, like in any continent or any country, you have different cities and towns, right? What about that whole area is actually Gomorrah and not into the different cities that he's stating it is? One doesn't know. No one knows. So what is left? Our interpretation. But we are flawed, right? Born to sin. Aren't we governed by our feelings? Aren't we governed by lust and everything else? Yet we are the ones that are interpreting and writing the Bible. And the Bible that you are reading is written by the flawed man. That's it. So anyway, when you're reading the Bible, again, take it as guidance, not instruction. You do not know what the writer's true intentions were when writing the Bible. We have an idea, but an idea can go terribly wrong if you interpret it incorrectly. So that's why you have to look at it, make your best judgment. And when you're going to read the Bible, the tool you're going to use to decipher the Bible of God is forgiving and loving. And then out of that, when you read the Bible, you have to now weigh what is evil and what is not. What is an assumption and what is factual. Again, you gotta look at it back then. Their way of thinking is way different. So, yeah, you have to just listen. The Bible is, again, you should read it. You should stray away from it. Read it and try to decipher it yourself. Try to see what you get from it. And that's why I said it's like a self-help book. Because it may inspire you, but it should only inspire you. It should never instruct you. Because what was then is not now. That is so important. What was then is not now. Because if that's the case, there's a lot of people that will be burned to the stake. Right? Just think about that. So anyway, moving on.
It's all proven. Did you know that Sodom was full of gay people? As a matter of fact, because God sent two angels. If you read the story about Sodom, when he sent the two angels to Sodom to stay at the guy's house, all the gay people were out there and saying, "Hey man, let us see those two men so we could have sex with them." And the guy's name was Lot. The two angels, he sent the two angels from heaven to stay with Lot. And what did Lot do? He came out and he told them, "Hey, listen. I have two virgin daughters inside my house. Take them, have sex with them, but don't take these men and defile them." Sodom was nothing but homosexuals.
Okay, no. Let me interrupt here. When he's talking about they were giving the virgin, and then the whole bunch of guys came and they said, no, I want to have sex with the guys. That's all embellishment. That's all his interpretation and his stupidity. Because if you do really good research, you know that the story behind that was that God told Abraham that he was going to destroy those cities because of their grave sins, right? The sins were not detailed, but it was because of their grave sins. And I'm going to tell you how they came about to think of it as being gay. And just think about how Bird's logic is, the stupid logic, right? Because of something, you have to associate everything that way. So, now, what happened was that Abraham told God, hey, no. Listen, there's a lot of good people living in there. And one of those people that lived there was his nephew, Lot. So Abraham said, listen, now, I want you to listen to this part because it's kind of mind-boggling. I mean, but anyway, listen to the story. So Abraham goes, listen, God, let me talk to you, God. Come over here. I want to negotiate something with you. On behalf of the righteous people that live in the two cities. I wanna negotiate. I wanna save some people. So then God goes, okay, I'll spare the cities if you show me 50 people that could be found to be righteous. Now, like if you think about this, God is supposed to be all-knowing, right? Like, what is this negotiation? What is this find me? Why does God need to find anything? I mean, God would know if there's righteous people there or not. So you see how the conversation, it doesn't go with an all-knowing God, right? But anyway, so now God says the 50 righteous people, and then they're going back and forth, right? And then Abraham was like 50, come on, we could do better than that. The little negotiation with God. Hey, what's up, Father? Come on, do a solid for me. So God goes, all right, you know something? Find me 10. If you find me 10, if you show me 10 people, we're squared away. Alright? We're squared away. So, God sends two angels that appear to be men. Alright? So now the two men, they go to Lot, his nephew. So when they go to visit them, they were met with, a mob of people. And they came and said, what's up? Who the fuck are you? Two strangers come to your town. Like, hey, what's up? What's up? Right? So Lot says, listen. Cool off. You know something? Leave these guys alone. I'm going to do something for you. I'm going to do you a solid. Now, this is what he was stating. Think about this. I'm going to give you my daughter so you can fuck if you leave them alone. Listen to that, people. You're negotiating with God. 50 people. God goes, no, okay, 10. I'm going to send 2 of my angels to make sure you get the right, righteous people. Because God can't do that, right? He needs 2 other people to go down and investigate this, okay? And then a mob comes and says, what's up? What are these people doing here? And Lot goes, you know something? Here, fuck my daughter. What the fuck? Why not? Here you go. Fuck them all. Here you go. Like, mind-boggling, right? It's not like God could have said, you know something, shut the fuck up and move away, right? And mind your business. No. Here goes my daughter, fuck her. God will be okay with that. You can fuck my daughter, why not? Hey, what the fuck? Right? So then the mob comes and they go, no, I want to speak to the fucking two people that visited the town. And there is when they said, they're gay. Because they refused to fuck his fucking daughter and said, we want to meet the people that came, the two men. We want to meet them. Meet them. See who they are. No, it became, I don't want to fuck your daughter because I want to fuck the other two guys. Where did that appear? Let's do a little spin here. What if Lot said, listen, stop it. You know, here, take my daughters. Take my daughters, you can have your way with them because the two guys are for me. What if Lot was like, hey, that's my shit. Right? Why not say it that way? Why is... But no. I'm gonna give you my daughters. You can fuck them all you want. That's it. Come on, people. But listen, anyway. That is what we all do. Is try to extrapolate something that's not there. We make up a scenario just to make it up. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people that hate the LGBTQ community and they just rummage through the whole fucking Bible going, listen, right here, you see? Why would they refuse to fuck a girl? Why would they refuse to fuck his daughter? They're gay. That's it. We're gonna use this. Think about that, people. So that is what happened. Because they refused to fuck his kids. They're gay. So let me tell you this. Someone comes to your house, right? And the father comes, yo, who the fuck is this? Then your neighbor goes, no, listen, leave him alone here. You can fuck my daughter. You be like, I don't give a fuck about your daughter. I want to meet those two motherfuckers that you bring into my house. That's it. You're gay. You are gay, brother. That's it. You're done. That is the logic. But above all that, think about this exchange of negotiating with God. And that God does not know how many righteous people are there. So if he doesn't know how many righteous people are there, why is God gonna fucking damn torch the whole place? It doesn't make sense. I mean, you gotta ask these questions. Was it the devil that was doing this? Because that doesn't sound like the God that you're all stating and everyone is putting out there, all knowing, all powerful. But he didn't know if there was how many righteous people were there. He had to send 2 angels to go and investigate. And Jot was so quick to go, fuck my daughter. Like it was nothing. And because they refused it, they're gay. That's it. They're gay. That is mind-boggling. And that is where the gay comes in. And that's why they extrapolated, because they refused to fuck the 2 girls. Maybe they didn't want to fuck his daughters. They didn't give a fuck about that. They want to know who the fuck is the head of their town. I mean, what's up? You starting shit? You want to start some shit? So anyway, that's my colorful way of fucking describing it. But that is the point. Now, if you go and you read up on this, you're going to get a whole bunch of different stories and all that. And you're going to have some scholars that say, hey, that is where the confusion came in. Alright? That even now the Christian churches and all that are rethinking that story. They're just rethinking it. Because God was negotiating people. What the fuck is going on here? I'm confused. But this dick, that is his interpretation. Was his interpretation. Because of that, they became gay. That's it, they're gay. Like, they didn't get anything wrong back then, right? Everything was fine and dandy. That lady that was burning at the stake, she was like, don't worry, I'm okay with this. Don't worry, they got it right. Yeah, I'm a witch. Go ahead, burn me. Yeah, fuck it, go ahead. Yeah, that's they got everything right back then, right? Oh my god. So anyway, that's the fucking story. Now, before we move on, I want you to take notice that we did not put up any type of where we got the story from or anything like that. And that was done on purpose. Because we want all of you to go and research. We don't want to put something up there and you go, oh, okay. We want you actually to go and do your research. When it comes to a topic like this, you should see all the different views that are out there. That is my interpretation. That is what I took away from it. From this negotiation and all that. Some of you may be fine that God was negotiating. Some of you will actually go, well, God was testing. Right? But why would God test a situation where God's plan is to torch the whole city? So anyway, you could go back and forth. That's why religion is like a taboo. But at the end, just read the story and think to yourself, what is going on here? I mean, that's all you need to do. So that's why we're not putting up any reference pictures for you in some situations because we want you to actually go and look for it, research it, draw your own conclusion. I know in today's society, everyone wants to be spoon-fed information, but the problem is that the person that's spoon-feeding you may have some deceptive fucking damn intentions. So sometimes you need to grab the spoon and feed yourself. So go out there and actually even listen to people who may not think like you because you get a different insight. So go out there. It won't hurt. Trust. It won't hurt. It won't hurt. But believing people like the dodo bird and this fucking idiot, that is a problem. A serious issue, as you will find out in this video later on. Okay, moving on.
Sodom was a perverted town. It was nothing but homosexuals. But that's one of them. But if you go to Leviticus 18:22, because now I'm back in my office where I have my list of all my biblical stuff. Leviticus 18:22. Do not practice homosexuality. Having sex with another man as with a woman, it is a detestable sin. And then you could go to Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. And this is what it says. This is what it says in Leviticus also. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. If a man practices homosexuality, having sex with another man as with a woman, both men have committed a detestable act. They must both be put to death, for they are guilty of a capital offense. I mean, that's how bad it was back then. Now, remember I was talking about the verse in Corinthians? It was actually 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Sorry about that, Angel. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, and here's where it's clear to say, even in the New Testament, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 11, he's talking about all the people that will not enter the kingdom of heaven. He says, don't you realize that those who do wrong will not inherit the kingdom of God? Don't fool yourselves. Those who indulge in sexual sin or who worship idols, commit adultery.
Hey, wait a minute. Before we go on, hey, Bird, move on. Move on. You ain't going to heaven. That's it. Sexual sins, infidelity, all that. Brother, that's it. You're done. Go ahead.
Or are male prostitutes, or practice homosexuality, or are thieves, or greedy people, or drunkards, or abusive, or cheat people. None of these will inherit the kingdom of God.
Yeah, all of you. Every single one of you fucking drunk alcoholics, fucking damn drug addicts, all of you. That's it. You're going nowhere. Including the motherfucker that's fucking talking about this shit. I mean, how hypocritical. And please keep note, because remember he said something about Leviticus. Then he transitioned to 1 Corinthians. Leviticus, 1 Corinthians. Just remember that. Remember that's key to the point we're going to make later on. The transition. Remember that.
And the only reason I bring those Bible verses up is just to give an understanding to a lot of people who are in the LGBTQ community, so they understand why that you're not going to be able to get a Christian person or a person of faith or somebody who goes to church, a real church that reads from the Bible, and to convince them that that lifestyle is okay, because we know it never has been, not in the beginning of time or through Jesus's time. It's never been acceptable, and the Bible's always spoken about it. And more importantly, he spoke about the consequences of living that lifestyle. And Sodom, Sodom was the whole freaking town was nothing but gay people.
The whole fucking town. The females, the little kids. I don't know how kids were born, if they were all gay. But yeah, everyone was gay. The whole fucking town. But that's not what truly happened. If you go and read up on it, you see, again, people like to nitpick and, choose what they want to choose. Alright? But let me just say this real quick. The story with Sodom and Gomorrah was that Sodom and Gomorrah were two legendary biblical cities destroyed by God for their wickedness. Alright? That from that wickedness, they included the gay factor into it. Right? And then from some being gay, this piece of shit went to everyone was gay. Every single one. Because he did what Bird does. What the fucking idiots do. Because of one act, they label everyone that way. Everyone. So, listen. Alright. Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. Now, this goes back to what I just was talking about. How people are so quick to say God wiped everyone out of the whole area as if there's no kids, there's no animals or pets, there's no unborn children, none of that, and just wipe them all out, and not just wipe them out regular, burn them to fucking death. Yeah, let me say this: burn, fire, and I want you to think about this. God is powerful, right? If God can make it rain fire, why? Why wouldn't God just kill the people that were wicked? That's it. Snap the finger and done. Why this cascading of fire to destroy even the buildings, the plantation, the animals, the pregnant women, everything scorched? Why? Why? I'm confused about why God with so much power that created life, created the universe, chose that way to torment everyone. Like, why? And everyone's like, oh my God, God, why would you even think that was God? Why would you even put that? Like, why would God do that? See, this is why people get confused. You're saying God is all knowing, God is all powerful, God can just kill you and take you to heaven whenever God wants. So then why just kill the wicked ones? That's it. Just kill it. Why scorch and burn someone's skin down in this torturous way? Why? So when you hear things like that, you should wonder, like, how much of this is right. Let me just give you a hypothetical. What about if that was a meteor shower and they thought it was God? Because back then, when there was lightning and thunder, that was God speaking to them angry. When it was raining, what did they say? That was God crying. But now we know better. But that's what they thought back then. So if that is how they perceived natural events, then you have to now think logically and say, you know something? The book may not be accurate. So you have to look at it as what I just stated. Guidance, not instructions. There's things in there that may have gotten wrong. Another example, the witches. If you, a female, a doctor, went and did CPR and brought someone back to fucking life, you will be burned to the stake. But that was then. That's how they thought. That's how they thought. Should we now what? Take everyone that exhibits some type of unnatural powers, should we burn them to the stake? I mean, I'm confused about how you'll choose when God is good and when God is destructive, right? What happened to good and evil? What happened to the God and being and the devil? Why no one possibly even thought that maybe the devil had something to do with all this? But you're gonna put the devil? No, the devil wouldn't do that. God did that. God tortured and fucking burned everyone to death. God created a flood and drowned. They were just gasping for air, water going into their lungs, the babies just drowning and floating, just dying. God did that. And the devil's in the corner laughing his ass off. I mean, the atrocities you're attached to God is amazing. I mean, listen, like I just stated, if you did anything unnatural today, you will be burned to the stake like they did back then. Remember, thunder, lightning was God angry. Water was God crying. If someone came up to you and said that today, what is the first thing that's going to come to your mind? Besides Little Big Bird. So, what will come to you? What would you fucking think in your mind? If someone literally said that to you. So, now, with all that you just heard, you have to think to yourself, maybe the Bible didn't get it right. Maybe, look at, maybe one out of over 10,000 Bibles that are out there, maybe one of them got it right. Why is there so many fucking Bibles? So many different interpretations. Why do they keep manipulating the Bible? Why do they keep changing the wording? Why? Why when they mention Leviticus 18:22, they talk about homosexuality, but they don't keep going on. Like when it stated, do not have sexual relations with an animal and defile yourself with it. A woman must not present herself to an animal to have sexual relationships with it. That is perversion. Really? God had to put that down on paper and say, bitch, stop fucking the goat. I mean, what the fuck? Where did that come from? Who the fuck translated that? I mean, really, God was sitting there. Listen, David, listen, I gotta talk to you. Your wife is over there sucking the horse's dick. So I'm gonna need you. I need you to write in a book. A woman should not be sleeping with an animal. A man could. A man can sleep with an animal, but a man cannot sleep with another man. And the woman cannot sleep with an animal, but she could sleep with another woman. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, okay, that's my logic. Okay, so tell her to stop sucking the fucking horse's dick now. Oh shit! But they don't say nothing about that, right? They just stop right there. Homosexuality, that's it, it's done. I'll be thinking, who the fuck is fucking animals back then? That God had to make that declaration. What the fuck? And then nobody say, he said women can't sleep with fucking animals. What about a man? A man can fuck a goat or whatever? I don't understand this shit. This shit is just so backwards. But this is why I tell you, you have to look at the Bible as of the time of how they perceive things. Even if God was being clear about something, remember, we are governed by emotion. We are governed by illogical thoughts and everything like that. So even a simple instruction from anyone, they could have just took it so differently. But anyway, so why did they leave that out of the Bible and making new additions and the new one and this? What? The last time I checked, God started speaking to us. Where's all these new additions coming from? Because that's us trying to interject our thoughts and feelings into a book that should have been left alone. It was of that time. We should not be manipulating things. But we do it anyway. And then you get idiots like Joseph that spews the bullshit and didn't even get it fucking right. You see? Just think about the things that you are attaching to God and ask yourself why. Why would this loving God do this? And where is the devil in this? And what if it was a natural occurrence? Meteor shower, lightning storm. But again, if a group of scientists or whatever were transported to the past, they will be put to death immediately. Why? Why would they be put to death? You see? Think about that. So if someone of today cannot go into the past without being killed, then that's a problem. There's a disconnect somewhere. There's a big disconnect from the Bible, the book, and what's reality. And that's why I always fall back to what God instructed or wanted done back then was for that time. That time. And the witches being burned to the stake and all that is the same thing that happened with what? Jesus. When he exhibited powers. Right? Was that what? God? Oh God, that's right. God said, go ahead, take my son. Go ahead. I'm not gonna create no fires, no flooding. Just go ahead. Let me see the first pin put in his hand. Let me hear him screaming. And it's not gonna affect me. Oh, put another one. Hey. Make sure you get his legs. Come on. Now put him up there. Let him bleed to death. Let him starve to death. Be in pain because God, my son, I want to do that. But you know something? You see those fucking gay people over there? Yeah, I'm gonna burn the whole fucking town down. But for my son, let him there. Let him hang. How stupid does that fucking sound? Wait. Let me think of something. There's something missing. Let's give it a little bit more spice to it. Get a fucking a whole bunch of thorns and make it into a nice hat and just jab it into his head so he can just be bleeding through his head. Yeah, do that for my son, please. Okay, that's what I want done. And I'm gonna allow it. I'm just gonna allow it. And I know a lot of you are gonna say, oh, but Jesus said don't do anything because he's doing it for our sins. Based on what you're saying with God, God doesn't even give a shit. He wouldn't have even allowed anyone to even throw a stone at his son. Because, come on, if they throwing stones at him, this is before the crucifixion, throwing stones at him. So he's gonna burn and flood everything and kill everyone. But for his son, that's allowable. Keep going. Throw another stone at him. Are you just listening to this? Is this making sense to all of you? You cannot pin all these atrocities of God and then the one thing that is closely attached to God, that God allowed. That was okay. Yes. People, just think about this. Look at this picture. This is a reenactment. And you think of it as a parent and put your child's face there. And then you watching your child carrying a cross, bleeding, just walking down the road all the way to where he's going to be, nails are going to be hammered into him and all that. Do you think you would listen to your child when your child said, stop, don't do anything? You would just continue watching that happening? Is that what you would do? Even if your son is pleading, let them do this to me. Why would you, if you think about before, even with Sodom and Gomorrah, right? He said, burn them all. That's coming from an emotional God. Burn them all. Angry. Emotional. So that is what you have to think about now. This is an emotional God. So now, as an emotional God, as an emotional parent, you're watching your son, stones are hitting him and he's bleeding and he's suffering and he's carrying this heavy cross just so he could be pinned to it with large fucking nails. And God is just gonna just stand by and eat popcorn? I don't see as a parent. I don't care. Son, listen, this is not the way to go. I'll forgive them, but I'm not going to allow this to happen to you. If you want me to forgive them, I'll forgive them for you. But this, I would not allow. Right? Or no? Like, it's just like, these things are just not clicking with me. And this goes back to what I was stating, is that God is going to let us choose our own path. And when Jesus came into being, that was Jesus' path to follow, right? But you cannot state that God is going to intervene with our world, with our lives, for some things, and not intervene for things that truly mattered to us, a child. So either God is going to intervene in everything, or God is not going to intervene in anything. And let life take its course, right? Because, again, that's where the disconnect is at. And I want to make this clear. I'm not stating that Jesus is fake and all that. I'm not saying any of that. I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. But what I'm stating is that you cannot attach all these atrocities to God for, let's say, homosexuality, for being a witch, for whatever the case may be. And then when the time comes when his son is being berated and hurt so badly. And this is not something that just happened quickly. He had to carry a cross down a road all the way to the graveyard. And then lay on the cross to be fucking crucified. I'm sorry, as a parent, I don't see it. I don't see how I don't see it. I don't see how God can do all the atrocities attached to God, flooding and killing the whole world. And God's child was being crucified. But then when God's child is crucified, nothing is done. Nothing. No firestorms, no nothing. So that's why I go with God is just going to let us take whatever course we're going to take, right? That's just what's going to happen. And the choices that Jesus has made, God respected. And that's why things went the way it did. Because God respected that decision. But God respects everyone's decision because God is forgiving in itself. Remember, God is forgiving. So, there's a big disconnect with how you all say that God does so much bad. And not even include the devil in this. The devil's clean. The devil's out on the side. And yet when it really, really should matter to all of you as parents, God did nothing. So you have to now reason and think, what happened there? And I always look at the positive. And the positive is that God just allowed us to take whatever course we decided to take. Jesus decided to take that course. And God respected that. That's what God did. Respected his decision to take that route. But if you turn around and you say that God is an angry God, is an emotional God, that if you did things, if you did not do certain things, I'm going to kill you and burn you and flood you and drown you, then where was the emotion when it came to the crucifixion? See what I'm saying? You should have the same emotion. So that's why the emotion is not there. That's why I choose to say, no, God didn't burn and do all that. We did that to ourselves. We did it to ourselves. And we attached God to it. Or maybe it was the devil. But you cannot have both. It's too big of a contrast. You just can't. If you're going to side with an emotional God that's going to spite you for everything you do, then you have to expect that same emotional God when his son was being crucified. That's what you have to accept. You cannot say it happened to, these people, but my son, the one that I brought to the earth, preach my gospel, I'm going to allow you to do that without any emotion. Just cool as a cucumber. No, I don't think so. Sorry. You can say whatever you want to say. That's not God. God didn't do all the destruction. We did that. As an emotional beings that we are. That is what we did. And the path that we choose will determine whether you'll be allowed in God's house or not. I mean, it can't be any simpler. If God is going to judge us, how can God judge us if we are doing what he's making us do? So it's not us anymore. God is doing that. So how can he judge? So the only way to judge anyone is to allow them to behave the way they're going to behave. And at the end, then I can judge you. But if I manipulate your whole life and puppeteer your whole life, the only person that God can judge is God. I mean, because God did everything. So anyway, it's very, it can get deep. But at the end, the core of it all, just think about what God is to you. Is God the vindictive, emotional, destructive God, or is God the loving, forgiving, helpful God? You cannot meld both. It doesn't. You cannot have someone that's forgiving and loving, and at the same time destructive and murdering and massacring cities, much less a person. God did that. Yes, that is a God, my holy God. Woo! Bless you, God. So back to Joseph's stupidity and Sodom and Gomorrah. Why? Why? Why would you want to associate that with an act God would do? Like, what is wrong with y'all? I mean, who's to say that someone didn't start a fire because they felt God felt that that town was blasphemous or whatever like that? People were talking and they just torched the whole fucking town. What about if it was just an accident, right? What about if it was a fucking storm or lightning hit and started a wildfire? Are you gonna say the fires that happen in fucking California that wipes out whole towns is that act of God? Is that what you're saying? So why would you say something like that? Are you saying that Sodom, that one place, and Gomorrah were the only evil towns in the whole world, and then God decided to just burn them to death? And you're like, yeah, that's God. Woo! I mean, that's like stupidity in the fucking nth degree. How would you think of God that way? I mean, and then you wonder why people are straying away from God. And the reason why they're straying away from God is because you're holding on to a outdated book and trying to apply it in today's time, which it doesn't fit in today's time. It doesn't fit. So, back to Joseph. As you can see, we called it. We know that channel's going to be a tyrant hub. We know it. And now, it seems like he's a tyrant. But he's a tyrant in a different way. But he's a person with heavy biases. Dangerous biases. You see what I'm saying? So this is something that is horrible. It's disgusting. That this is his way of thinking. And you know something? When this goes back to when I said, why would you think of God that way? Right? And you always go to something horrible and then attach it to God when you should not be attaching it to God. So, with that being said, I want you to take notice of something. And this is how you know that the Bible is being misused. Okay? And this is and this is a perfect way for you to tell. Okay? If God is going to give a message, right? The message will be uniform and complete. But if you notice, you know what they will do? They go Leviticus, blah, 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 and Jeremiah, dot, 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 and Proverbs, dot, 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 and they'll give you all these fucking damn things, and they say, and said this. No, they didn't say that. You fucking nitpicking different lines and putting it together. Why would you need to refer to different books for different parts to create a story? Why? You gotta go, in Leviticus, this person said about the LGBTQ community, and then in Jeremiah, it says that anything that's evil, you should destroy. So since Leviticus said that they're evil, and Jeremiah said you kill evil, we put it together, and that's what we get. Voila! I mean, listen to them, people. They're gonna give you different books to create a story. You don't need to get... Why do you need all these different verses to create a story? Why can't it just be in one book? What happened? God gave half the story to one person and the other half to the other? Or perhaps, just perhaps, it's because where that other person lived, the circumstances were different, and God gave a different message to them. And the other people had a different message because of where they were living in their time. Which, that's why I stated, God was giving messages, personal messages, depending on the people. But what they do is they fucking cut and paste. If you take a Harry Potter book and you can take a whole bunch of lines and make it into a story, your own story. But it's your own. You made it up. Why are you quoting different verses? Why are you putting them together? Whatever that book experience was is different than the other book. Two different scenarios. You cannot just meld it together. That's not how it works. You cannot take, oh, you see that family over there? You see how they are? Look how bad they are. And look at that family over there. They live next to them, so they must be bad also. So put them together. Two bad families. That is Dodo-Bird's logic. Guilty by association. And that's what they do with these books. That's what they do with the Bible. I'm telling you, just listen and you see all the different verses. And then if you go and look at the verse, you can see how they tweaked it. And what does God say about that? So let's use a verse. So in Revelations 22:18-19, it states, I want everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to them, God will add to him the plagues described in this book. And if anyone takes away from the words of this prophecy, God will take away his share in the tree of life and in the holy city, which are described in this book. They're using the words of God and manipulating it to benefit themselves. So that's what happened. You take the Bible and you manipulate it. You are actually committing a sin. You should not be nitpicking and pairing up different lines to make your own narrative. Every verse needs to be its own. It needs to be its own. That is why that verse is there, and it's there by itself. It doesn't say, also see Leviticus, blah, 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 blah. It didn't say that, did it? So when you listen to people speak bullshit, and if in you hear something that is negative, evil, or bad, you cannot associate that with God. You cannot associate with that with God. You shouldn't. That's when the devil comes in. That's when evil comes in. Anyone that misrepresents or changes anything in regards to the Bible, if you misquote anything from the Bible, you're manipulating it. You're taking it out of context to make it your own. So how many false prophets are you believing in? So this is who he is. He's okay with the burning and the killings and all that. Disgusting. And in Las Vegas, I think there's a lot of like drag shows and all that. There's gonna be, they're gonna be interested in this. And they should be. Because someone like that is dangerous. Someone like that will get someone killed by preaching and saying shit like that to someone that's ignorant and stupid enough to go and act on it. That is dangerous. Words matter. You keep thinking it doesn't, but words matter. So that person is a fucking danger. And we're going to warn everyone around there, all the LGBT community, every single person about this person and their views, because they need to be on the lookout, because you never know what's going to happen. Because of his hate and spewing and his fucking damn misconception on what God was really about. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. One big thing that God stated was, do not judge. That's God's job, right? So, if a sinner is still alive and doing whatever they're doing, there's a reason for it. Because the Almighty God would have just wiped them out, right? Or are you saying now we're just going to wipe everyone out, right? Because based on what you said, Vegas, Joseph,
or are male prostitutes, or practice homosexuality, or are thieves, or greedy people, or drunkards, or abusive, or cheat people, none of these will inherit the kingdom of God.
Everyone is going to go to fucking damn hell. Everyone. I mean, did you even listen to what you said there? The examples you gave? You're just saying that everyone is going to go to fucking hell. I mean, listen. God does not like people that judge. So, let me ask all of you as well. Would you let someone in your home that's going to judge who's in your home? Why would God want someone to come in there and start whispering to another, why did God leave that person in here? Why is he here? Why is she here? Oh my God, what's wrong? I didn't think God was... You think that's the type of person that God wants in heaven? That's why you don't judge. God wants you to accept everything, everyone. You are not in a position to judge. You don't know what's going on in their lives to even judge. You don't know why someone did certain things. God knows all these things. So that's why God is in the position to judge. You are not. So you may be misjudging someone without knowing all the facts. So you become guilty. You become an evil entity. You become an outsider. God does not want that in heaven. God is not going to want someone there whispering and judging. It's just not going to happen. So, and you wouldn't allow it as well. Someone came in your house whispering, oh, why did you... Get out of my house. Get the fuck out now. That's what's going to happen. So remember that. Don't judge. You don't know what is happening in anyone's life for you to judge. You just don't. But you still do. And you think you have a place in heaven? See. Let me see. Let me ask you this. And I asked someone this question. Another person in religious and God. And this is a question I asked. Before I move on to the ending, the video we're going to show you. So Joseph could see. And then he can explain himself. But before there, I'm going to ask you this. And I want you to prepare this. Okay? When the time comes and you pass away. And God goes to judge you to see whether you go to heaven or not. And God would ask you this question. I want you to think of a response. Child, why did you think I flooded and killed everyone? Why did you think I burned and tortured all those people? Why did you think I did that? And if your response is, I read it in a book that was written, inspired by man, you're in trouble. Because one of the key takeaways that all of you say is, God is good, God is loving, God forgives. So how were you able to believe that? What are you going to tell God? Oops. Well, guess what? Guess what happens with your fucking oops? Well, your oops is the reason why so many people got killed and maimed in the name of religion. Because all of you judged. All of you felt that God's wrath is burn it, kill it, done with it. That is your logic behind a loving, forgiving God. So, what are you going to tell God? What are you going to tell God? God's going to ask you again, hey, why do you think I did that? What are you going to say? But I know in my case, even if God did do that, you know what God is going to tell me? Thank you for the benefit of the doubt. Thank you for believing in the best of me. Even though those actions was taken, you saw the good in me. That is way better than someone telling you, well, I believe you massacred millions and millions of people. I believe that you allowed all these children to die and go hungry and starve because the book said that is your plan. Oh my God. Do you hear how that fucking sounds? Now, let me say this. It's going to be a little bit of a brain twister for all of you. Just ponder. The biggest question and mystery is, why did God stop communicating with us? Why? Why did God stop speaking to us or communicating with us? Well, I have one theory, okay? And you may have your own, but perhaps, just perhaps, the reason why God stopped communicating with us, it may be because we kept getting it wrong. We kept manipulating the words. We kept changing what God stated. We kept interpreting it in a different way. So as each time God communicated with someone different, they interpreted it one way. It may not have been how God wanted them to interpret it. So maybe, just maybe, God said, you know something? It's best that I don't say anything and let you all grow on your own, and I'll be there to inspire you. That's why we get these sixth sense, these senses that we get about when something is wrong and not wrong. That could be God's way of speaking to us. But again, why the abrupt stop in communicating with us? Because we always fucking misinterpret and we try to manipulate the words for self-gain. Hence why millions and millions combined in all the wars in the name of religion, people have been murdered and massacred and hung and everything because of religion. All against what God and Jesus stood for. Fighting for the underdog. Forgiving those that did wrong. He even forgave those that pinned him to the cross. And God didn't wipe everyone out because of it. He allowed these people to pin nails into his hands and his feet, hung him on a cross. He did all that and still forgave. And God didn't wipe out the world. But then, out of nowhere, you're going to say God is going to just kill everyone else when God didn't even do that when his own son was pinned on a cross. Think. But in the name of God, millions and billions were massacred in the name of God. And you'll wonder why God stopped communicating with us? Listen, it's right there. It's right there. It's really that simple. Everyone sees and interprets things way differently. And that's why I feel God said, you know something? Yeah, let me stop saying things because everybody's taking it the wrong way. And then you have to also figure and topple this in. Remember, the Bible was written by man, okay? A man that is heavily influenced by emotions and outside stimuli. So now, let's bring it back to the very beginning. God spoke to Adam and Eve and said, do not engage in that because it is wrong. And what did we do? We still did it. So now, that sin was spawned from evil, the devil, however you want to interpret it. So let me ask you this. What's to say that any of these people that was writing in the book was not inspired or spoken to by evil himself, by the devil himself? What if something that was told to them was not told to them by God, but was told to them by the devil? And God, in God's wisdom, is thinking we should know better. We should know when something is not right and when something is right. So when an act is to go and harm, kill, maim someone, that should tell the person that is wrong. That is not God. God is not saying that. That must be the devil. Just as it happened when Adam and Eve. When God said don't. But did God stop? Did God say no, 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 no? Don't do that? No. Because God already told them you should not do that. So God's wisdom is you have to learn from your mistakes. But again, who's to say that when they were inspired, that it wasn't God that was inspiring them? It was actually the devil. Just like it happened in Adam and Eve, right? It happened, first sin, and God let them learn from their mistake. And then time goes by, we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again until the time came when they were massacring everyone. And God was like, you know something? Maybe it's not right to speak to them because they always take it the wrong way. They always misinterpret it. And at the end of the misinterpretation, people die. And that is not God. So for all of you to think that is God, you are sadly mistaken. Or you have a warped way of thinking of God. You're like a person that says, I forgive you, I love you, and then shoot them in the head. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't go together. It just doesn't. So think about that. Maybe that's why God said, that's it. I give up. I see you on the other side. If you do everything right and you live by love and forgiveness, you have a place in my home. If you don't, you are on your own. And that's it. God gave us everything. But what do we choose to do with it? Evil. Fight. Argue. Bully. Massacre. Kill. In the name of God. In the name of religion. And the one bedrock act that God has instilled in all of us, or should be instilled in all of us, is to love and forgive and do not judge. Love, forgive, and do not judge. And what do we all do? Kill, hate, and condemn. Beautiful setup. The devil did the job correctly by putting all those little ideas in people's minds. And look at where we are now. Back to hating. And why? Think about it. What is spearheading all this? Even in politics. Religion. Religion. No, you cannot abort. No, you should not be getting married. No, you should not. Again, in the name of God, we are again now going down the road of alienating people, hating people, killing people, segregating people in the name of God. Horrible. Disgusting. So when you have someone like Vegas News, it just spins out of control again. And this is where we at. This is where we at. I'm going to leave you with that. Now, Joseph, this next video is for you. And this goes back to what we're telling all of you. How people nitpick what the fuck they want to fit their narrative. Perfect video. This is a perfect video for you, Joseph, you piece of shit.
Forgive me, Dr. Jacobs. Are you an MD?
A PhD.
A PhD?
Yes, sir.
In psychology?
No, sir.
Theology?
No.
Social work?
I have a PhD in English literature.
I'm asking because on your show people call in for advice and you go by the name Dr. Jacobs on your show, and I didn't know if maybe your listeners were confused by that and assumed you had advanced training in psychology, theology, or healthcare.
I don't believe they are confused, no, sir.
Good. I like your show. I like how you call homosexuality an abomination.
I don't say homosexuality is an abomination, Mr. President. The Bible does.
Yes, it does. Leviticus
18:22.
chapter and verse. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions while I had you here. I'm interested in selling my youngest daughter into slavery as sanctioned in Exodus 21:7. She's a Georgetown sophomore, speaks fluent Italian, always cleared the table when it was her turn. What would a good price for her be? While thinking about that, can I ask another? My chief of staff, Leo McGarry, insists on working on the Sabbath. Exodus 35:2 clearly says he should be put to death. Am I morally obligated to kill him myself, or is it okay to call the police? Here's one that's really important, because we've got a lot of sports fans in this town. Touching the skin of a dead pig makes one unclean. Leviticus 11:7. If they promise to wear gloves, can the Washington Redskins still play football? Can Notre Dame? Can West Point? Does the whole town really have to be together to stone my brother John for planting different crops side by side? Can I burn my mother in a small family gathering for wearing garments made from two different threads? Think about those questions, would you?
So, there you have it. Joseph, everyone on that fucking panel, welcome to We the People Tyrant Wars.
United we stand, and united tyrants will fall. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Let's go! I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed.